Northeast is the call to make. Whether you're buying your first home or you're a seasoned investor, Terry Kilakos and his team of mortgage and real estate brokers can help. It's simple and it's free. Make your dreams come true. Call Northeast.
Good afternoon, everyone. You're listening to The Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Terry Kilakos, chartered real estate and mortgage broker, as well as president of Northeast Real Estate and Mortgage Agency, as well as president of CBC Alliance. And today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects. They're all my favorite subjects. I seem to always be saying that, but I really enjoy what we're going to be talking about today, and it's refinancing. We're going to be looking at the pros and cons of refinancing now versus waiting till next year or the year after, or whenever, I don't know, the creditors come knocking on your door. Joining me, we have my co-host, who is looking very confused. She's looking at me like I don't know, maybe she thinks I've smoked something or done something here, but I haven't.
You have a lot of hand gestures today.
I'm Greek. I have hand gestures. The voice that you're hearing right now is Merav Marciano, chartered real estate and mortgage broker extraordinaire and vice president of Northeast and CBC Alliance. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I realize that a lot of people might not know what CBC Alliance is.
It's a Canadian Broadcasting Company. We own CBC. You didn't know that?
Of course. That's Coldwell Banker Commercial.
Coldwell Banker
Yes.
Commercial. That's right. Absolutely. Merav and I, we acquired CBC last year in March, right? Was it last year?
Yeah.
It seems like we've always had it, but it was literally last February or March that we bought it. And it's all commercial that we do over there.
Yeah.
So feel free to reach us online at nordest.ca. You can also visit us on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Northeast Nordest and facebook.com/CBC Alliance Quebec. And if you haven't done so already, please take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is newsonthego.ca. As well, if you need to reach us at the office, please don't hesitate. You can call us at any point in time. Our number at the office is 514-680-4674. And operators are standing by. I had to say that.
Please stand by.
Okay, let's do a little bit of a market update before we dive into our favorite subject. And you guys are going to realize very quickly why refinancing is one of my favorite subjects to talk about. Let's look a little bit of what's been going on, Merav. So take it away. News updates.
So I think everybody's waiting for what the states are going to do at the next rate announcement, because it seems like Canada follows suit.
Yeah. The whole world follows suit. Like, we'll wait and see what the Fed does.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
And last time, obviously, it created some nerves out there. You know, they hiked it by 75 basis points, and now there's talk about the
Fed, the Fed raising again,
raising again by 75 basis points in November and another 50 in December. But we'll see. This is all speculations, of course. Canada, we have our next announcement on October 26th, which is in
less than a couple of weeks.
Yeah. So let's see what happens there. But I think all signs point to up.
Another increase, yeah. So, I mean, we have to look at it and say, what is the U.S. doing? What's Canada going to do? And a lot of you know, there's this belief that, you know, it's not necessarily what the States is going to do, Canada's going to follow. But based on where the Canadian dollar is, and I just want to give a little bit of an explanation, if you will, as to why our currencies or why our countries are so closely tied. If the Bank of Canada did not raise interest rates when the Fed raises interest rates, what it would do, it would actually cause the Canadian dollar to slip further than where it's already at. We're already seeing the Canadian dollar down. Because the Fed raises rates, it actually increases the greenback and it goes up in value. And that by it going up in value, it devalues other currencies around the world. So when the U.S. dollar, so anyone that is linked to the U.S. Federal Reserve in one way or another, when the Fed raises interest rates, it actually causes the US dollar to gain in value, which devalues other currencies, which in turn other countries need to go around and raise interest rates again to get their currency higher yet again. So there's a very close correlation. And if you remember, and if you hear the show long enough, you will have heard me say this before. When the Bank of Canada raises rates, the Canadian dollar gains some strength, right? There's a correlation between those two. So unfortunately, chances are they're going to have to raise it. I don't know how much they're going to raise it by, but there's a general consensus that says that this will probably be the last increase, at least this year.
Do you feel that this is actually helping?
No, it's not helping.
Inflation,
it's
which is a
inflation
global...
inflation is already down. I mean, let's be honest here. It's already started to creep back down. The new numbers haven't come in yet. They'll probably be in the next couple of weeks. Inflation is down. So seeing as inflation is down, I think that...
but they're aiming for quite a lower number.
Yeah, they are. And I think that they're going to overshoot that number, to be perfectly honest. So they're looking for 2 to 3%. I think that once we get into next year and we're comparing, 2022 to 2023, I think that the Bank of Canada and the Fed and a lot of places around the world are going to have a really rude awakening. They're going to wake up suddenly finding themselves either in a negative inflation position or a very low inflation position.
Yeah, because you're finally comparing two normal years versus comparing a COVID year to a normal year.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
So
now on the real estate front, also we noticed that the inventory has gone up. So we have seen more listings go up on the market.
And houses are staying on the market longer.
Yeah, they're still selling, but staying longer, less. You won't have 25 multiple offers.
Yeah.
You'll have maybe 2 or 3. Sometimes it'll take a little bit longer to sell.
Which I'll be honest with you, I like. This week I've had a few. I like the way I said that. I don't know. It just rolled.
It sounded like Italian.
Yeah, no. It's this week I've had a couple of customers who have bought properties right now. And I started the process over a couple of weeks. So a couple of weeks ago, I had spoken to them. They had told me that they were looking at a property. They went, they visited, they did a second visit of the property. They were able to have a conversation with the listing broker, and their broker was able to have a proper conversation. And in the end, they ended up offering them a little bit under what the asking price was. And I find that it's more normal. It's a normal type of a market. This is what we're expecting. It's not normal. Let's put it in perspective, people. It's not normal to list a house and have 20 people coming to make an offer on it and bidding $200,000 over asking.
Yeah.
That is not the norm. This is more normal right now. So I'm happy about this right now.
And would you say rates is the same idea? It's not normal what we had at
100%.
1.79% for a 5-year fixed type of thing.
100%, yeah.
Now we're more in the normal rates up there in the 4s, 5s.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And they're going to come back down. I know they're coming back down.
What's
a little
your crystal
birdie.
ball? Yeah, what's your crystal ball saying?
Next year, the rates are coming back down. That's what my
Not
crystal
to
ball...
the 1s, 2s.
No.
Okay.
No. I think that we'll probably see a drop of about 1% at some point next year. Okay, so
I'll take it.
Yeah, it's and before it starts to stabilize, because you have to remember, whenever you see interest rates move in any one direction, very abruptly, up or down, by the way, it'll rebound the other way very quickly. Anytime you see any type of movement going in a certain direction, it'll come back. Think of it like a Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, it'll bounce, but not as it won't bounce back to what it was.
Let me put it to you this way. I don't want to ever see interest rates be in the 1.5% range ever again for the rest of my career and for the rest of my life.
Okay,
or my
people are
kids'
going to
life.
say why.
Because the reason why interest rates were where they were is because of what was going on in the world. Period.
Yeah.
Okay? If they're in the 3s, low 4s, mid 3s, I'll be happy with that. Okay, that's wonderful. Okay, that's the norm of where they've been over the last decade. But when we're talking about interest rates of 1.5%, I hope we understand that that is not normal. That is not something that we should be seeing. If we're seeing that, it's because there is catastrophe in the world.
Yeah, good point.
So we have to put things in perspective. When we come back, we're going to be looking at whether or not now is the good time to refinance your mortgage, or is it better to wait? But first, we're off to the CJAD Traffic Center. You're listening to The Real Estate Show, and today we're talking about refinancing and whether now is actually the right time to do so. Feel free to visit us online at www.nordest.ca, or you can call us at the office at 514-680-4674. That's 514-680-4674. So let's talk about refinancing.
So you use that term a lot. I think it's important before you explain if it's a good time to refinance or not, for you to first explain what it means to refinance.
Okay. So anytime, you're going to really simplify this, okay? Because it's fairly simple. Anytime that we change the state of a mortgage, we're changing the amortization. We're changing the amount of the mortgage. So anytime we're changing the state of a mortgage, extending amorts, doing anything like that, we're refinancing it. In other words, we're breaking the existing contract and setting up a new one. Now, the refinance could be done when your mortgage comes up for renewal, or it could be done at any point in time during a term of your mortgage by paying a penalty to the existing lender that you're with. The good news is, in this climate right now, penalties tend to be a lot smaller. It's not always the case, but they do tend to be a lot smaller because banks want you to break the current mortgage that you have at a low interest rate to get an interest rate that's higher.
And now, technically, what's the maximum equity that you could take out of your house if you would want to refinance to the maximum that you're allowed, maximum allowable mortgage? So
again, for those that listen to our show long enough, you know the three pillars of getting a mortgage, right? So credit, income, equity. The three elements work together to determine how much you can actually borrow. If we were to look at just the equity component of a refinance, the maximum based on government rules is 80%. So 80% is the maximum that you can fetch out of a property. So if your house is worth $100,000, you can take $80,000 out. It's worth $500,000, you could take $400,000 out. Out of that money that you take out, whatever is currently owed to your existing lender obviously needs to be paid off. So let's look at an example of let's say you have a $200,000 existing mortgage. You have a home that's worth $500,000. You want to take out the maximum on it, which means that you can go all the way up to $400,000
if you qualify.
If you qualify, provided that the other elements fall in line. We're going to assume that they do right now. Mm-hmm. So provided that the other elements fall in line, what you end up doing is you're able to take out the $400,000, you pay $200,000 back to your existing lender, and you have another $200,000 in your pocket to do what you need to do with, whether it's paying off debts, renovations, investments, buying other properties, whatever it is that you need to do with
helping your child buy another property,
yeah,
helping
whatever.
Your parents.
Yeah.
There's so many things you could do.
You could even refinance and take me on vacation.
That's a good idea.
I.e. you can go refinance.
Okay, you're talking to me. I thought you were talking to the public, because that would say that that's weird.
I'm talking to the public also. I mean, anyone that wants to invite me on vacation, you're more than welcome.
You're going to become the nanny. So now, of course, the question on everyone's mind, if they need that extra money, they want to pull equity, and they're looking at the rates. Is it the right time? Do they wait? What's the story here?
I think that we need to discuss why this is one of my favorite subjects.
Sorry for laughing.
Okay. I think this is what we really need to go through. Why is this one of my favorite subjects to discuss? Well, let's rewind time. Okay. So again, you listen to the show long enough, I bought my first property when I was 24 years old, blah, 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 blah. Okay. I'm not going to bore you guys with all those details. When I became a mortgage broker in 2006, the first client that I had was myself. Okay, so I was literally the first mortgage that I ever did was yours truly. At the time, I had a 5-year fixed with the lender on my property. I owed I don't remember how much it was. It was like $85,000 or something. I had an interest rate of somewhere in the 5% range. And I had payments that were $500 and change, just shy of $600 a month. The part that was not visible was I had a lot of toxic debt that I carried, because prior to me becoming a mortgage broker, I had a couple of businesses. I worked for the Department of Defense. Me and Merav, we actually met at an IT company, which I was getting paid really badly for working there. I was traveling, all over the world, designing computer networks. See, this is stuff that a lot of people don't realize about me, but I have a very interesting and colorful past. That colorful past came with a lot of debt that I accumulated. The other stuff that people don't realize is Merav was previously married. She had lawyer bills that she had to pay. She had gone through a divorce. She had, I don't even remember how much you had, but it was a nice chunk of money that she owed to lawyers. I had toxic debt from credit cards and other stuff like that. And all in all the money that we were spending on a monthly basis was just over $4,000 a month.
That was just on the toxic debt.
Yeah, toxic debt plus that mortgage payment that I had on that building. So all of those things together were eating away at any income that we had. So what did I do? I went and I refinanced myself. And when I refinanced, I was able to bulk all of those things together and get myself a little bit of extra money to build myself up a cushion so that I can actually start the business, right? The mortgage business. And I'll never forget this number because, and I'm saying this and I'm actually getting a little emotional because this is how important this is, okay? If you do things correctly. My payments on a monthly basis went from just over $4,000 to $1,331. So although my mortgage payment went up from where it was to $1,331, my monthly burn rate dropped from over $4,000 down to $1,331. That in itself allowed us to breathe. It allowed us to walk around with a smile on our face because we weren't hemorrhaging money anymore, right? Then from there, what did we do? The money that I had, that little bit extra, I took it and I invested it in myself and in my business. So I invested it in growing my practice. And who you're hearing on the radio right now, who is sitting here in front of you, is the product of that one refinance that I had done in 2000. It wasn't in 2006. It was actually in 2007. But it's the product of that.
And of course, the question is, what was the interest rate and were you even looking at the interest rate?
So the interest rate at the time, I went from 5 and change, and you have to forgive me because I don't remember the exact number, but it was 5 and change.
I think it was 575.
Something along those lines, because that's what the prevailing rates were at the time. Yeah. And I had to go with an alternative lender because I didn't have a track record in my new career. An alternative lender is someone that'll charge you a higher interest rate, and I went to 8.25% interest.
And you still saved $1,700. No.
More.
$2,700 a month.
Exactly. So even though I paid 8.25% interest at the time, and I did that for a year until I built up that track record. And then I was able to go in, I refinanced again. And now when I refinanced, I was able to drop that interest rate down. Took more money, invested more into the business, invested in buying other real estate, and just started to grow my life and build up the net worth year over year over year over year. And again, if it's done correctly with the right guidance and the proper advice, it will change and revolutionize your life. So this is why it's something that's so near and dear to me. And I apologize, I'm getting emotional on it. It's because it changed my life. And I know that there's so many customers that I work with every day that doing something along these lines literally changes their lives. anyways, that's...
A little tear in my eye.
I know, I see that.
I feel bad for laughing at the beginning.
Listen, people say that they love our show because we're able to take something very serious and make it fun.
Yeah.
But there's some things that I can't stress enough. This is fun. I mean, we're gonna have fun. I know we were very heavy right now, but we're gonna have some fun. I promise. So coming up, there'll be some more laughter.
Promise some fun.
We promise. When we come back, we're going to be looking at when it actually makes sense to refinance at a high interest rate. But first, let's head on over to the CTV News Update. You're listening to The Real Estate Show, and today we're talking all about refinancing and why it's my favorite subject. There we go.
Nice.
That's what we're talking about. And let's make this a little bit fun, because I know I was a little bit heavy just before, but it was important to
and
me. I needed
hopefully
to get
the
it out.
news didn't add to your heaviness.
Yeah. All right.
So before the break,
Yeah.
you went into a little bit of a story about why this is an important
Yeah.
subject to you. You mentioned a lot the word toxic debt.
Yeah.
And I think we have to differentiate between regular debt, acceptable debt, and toxic debt. And I think maybe we can just explain that, because not all debt is bad.
So some people are going to say that, when we're talking about toxic debt, it's any debt is toxic. Okay. I've heard that. I beg to differ. Okay. I don't even consider, and I'm going to shock a lot of people with what I'm about to say, I don't even consider credit cards necessarily toxic debt, provided... Stop making these... She makes these faces, like these, like, what are you talking about faces, okay? Let me explain. Provided that it's used properly. Okay, so let me elaborate.
Okay.
Let's say you have a $10,000 credit card, and you take $10,000 on that credit card, and you use that money to buy a big screen TV, go on vacation, I don't know, you buy a whole bunch of things that are disposable or that disappear or degrade over time, and it's gone, okay? And then once those things are gone, you're still stuck paying that credit card at 19, 20, 21%, whatever interest rate it's at. That's toxic, okay?
Yeah.
Because there is no value to it, especially if you maintain it over a certain amount of time. Whatever you've purchased on it, you bought a big screen TV at $2,000, that big screen TV is now gonna, by the time you're done paying it, it's gonna be $10,000. That's toxic.
I agree.
Let's look at a different example. $10,000, same credit card, 20% interest. You go and buy an investment with it. Okay, that investment yields you a return. Is it toxic? It's not toxic at that point, because you've made money from it. Unfortunately, the case is not that for most people. The majority of people, and I wanted to say that because there's a lot of our listeners that do use credit cards, lines of credit and everything else to do investments, and they're very savvy with it. And I'm actually, I have to say, sometimes I look at some of our listeners when they come in to see us, and I analyze their, and I'm like, wow, like it impresses me.
I've even seen an investment into yourself, like a course,
100%,
or any kind of improvement.
But again, if you keep it going, it could become toxic. Okay, so to me, toxic debt is anything that you start to lose control over. Okay, when it takes over your life. So when you're earning, $5,000 a month, and you're spending $5,000 or $6,000 on your debts, that becomes toxic. Okay, when you don't have enough money to pay your groceries without using a credit card, that becomes toxic. Okay. And I've had customers come in where they've basically, every month they're taking their money, they're paying down their debts, and then they have to go back in. It becomes a vicious circle. They have to go back in and they have to use those credit cards to buy groceries or to put fuel in their car or whatever they need to do. And if you're doing it for points, it's one thing.
Yeah, if you pay it off.
If you're doing it because it's the only way that you can get by, that becomes toxic. And it's at that point in time where you got to look at it and say, enough's enough. we need to do something about this.
Well, there was a statistic. I don't remember the exact amount, but it was about the government was saying that people spend about 1.5 times what they earn.
Yep.
Because basically you've got your income and then the rest is on credit.
That's right.
And I think it's even more than 1.5 now, but
Yeah.
I'll keep it conservative just to be...
I agree. And so the danger that we're in right now, especially with rising interest rates, is that people look at what they currently have. What we're talking about today, refinancing, we're not reinventing the wheel here. I mean, this is something that people have done from, the time that mortgages became available. But the danger that we're in right now is people have mortgages with low interest rates. They have mortgages with 2.5%, 1.5%, whatever interest rate you might have on that mortgage. That's what they are used to paying right now. And they've accumulated debt for one reason or another. And sometimes you're ashamed of it, sometimes not. But that debt that you've accumulated, what ends up happening is you say to yourself, well, I don't want to touch my mortgage. I don't want to refinance it and break this low interest rate to set up a new interest rate because I don't want to pay that higher amount. And by doing that, all you're essentially doing is you're digging yourself deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into a hole. Instead of thinking like that, what I would love is for you to come up with a plan with a professional, with myself, one of our brokers, your banker. I don't care who you use, okay? It's the one thing that you need to understand about, our show and what we do. We're very good at what we do. And I would love for everyone to come in and see us, but I understand not everyone is going to do that. Just make sure that whoever you're talking to is credible and knowledgeable, okay? You go in, you sit down with a professional and you say, how much can I access out of my property? Is it 20, 30, 40, 50? Does that satisfy my need to pay off what I owe? And if it does, don't look at the interest rate. What you need to look at, you don't earn money. So in other words, the money that you earn on a monthly basis from your jobs is not interest. It's dollars. It's a fixed amount that comes in. And if you're able to get your burn rate on a monthly basis down from 3,000 to 1,500 or 3,000 to 1,000 or whatever you're able to get it down by, well, guess what? That's an extra $1,500 that you're going to have in your pocket. And then by having that extra $1,500 in your pocket, you're able to turn around then and actually do something productive with it. You could take it, you could put it into your RSPs, you could put it into your TFSAs, you can start investing it, start building up that nest egg. So when you need to buy groceries, you're not relying on credit anymore. You've cut that cycle. And that's where true wealth will be built from.
So purely cash flow. You look
at your cash flow.
Yeah. What are you paying right now on a monthly basis on everything? Mortgage, all your toxic debt, as you call, all your debts in general.
Yeah.
And then you refinance, no matter what the interest rate is, if it makes sense.
It has to make sense.
If it makes sense
Yeah.
for your monthly payments. If those monthly payments will drop because you will be paying off and eliminating all that extra weight, then you do it.
Exactly. And I'm going to add this in there. And I want you to listen carefully. And I'm going to upset a lot of people by what I'm about to say. Stay away, especially if you own real estate. Okay? If you don't own real estate, might be a different conversation. Stay away from the credit consulting companies. Okay? Listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth and listen carefully. Stay away from those companies because they will take someone that has a really good credit score and they will put you right into the toilet.
And we've seen it.
And I've seen it time and time and time again. Once you've spoken to someone, a professional who is trained in basically looking at refinances and stuff like that, if they tell you there is no way to do what you want to do, you can't refinance, you can't consolidate, you can't do anything like that, then at that point, maybe then you can look at other solutions like the credit consulting companies and so on and so forth. But until you have proper advice as to whether or not you're able to refinance or not, stay away from them, because they will get your credit score down to nothing, or very low. It won't go down to nothing, but it'll go very low.
Okay, good advice.
Okay, sorry, I went off on a rant there.
No,
But it's
all
true.
good.
I saw it happen to multiple people last year. And this is when interest rates were low, right? Multiple people ended up going to credit consulting companies before they came to see us. And when I looked at it, I said, what did you do? It was a disaster. I had to go alternative lenders. It ended up being a mess. You're listening to The Real Estate Show. Today we're talking about refinancing. Up next, we're going to have a look at some refinancing strategies and what to do with your savings. But first, we're taking a small detour off to the CJAD Traffic Center. You're listening to The Real Estate Show. Today we're talking all about refinancing your mortgage to do all kinds of wondrous things, including paying off your debts, getting money for investments, for renovations, taking me on vacation, all kinds of stuff you can do with your...
That doesn't sound right.
If you want to reach us at the office, you can call us at 514-680-4674. And I do apologize. I talk with my hands a lot, so I'm constantly like slamming my hands on the table.
They could hear it.
I guarantee it. I've listened to our show once, and I'm like, oh my God, I hit the table a lot.
You're like a politician.
I am, yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna try and tie my hands down.
We were talking before about paying off toxic debt, which I definitely agree that carrying debts at like 22% with no reason behind it makes sense to pay it off. But I also find that there's other reasons, important reasons why people should refinance. Sometimes you have issues with the house. Let's say
absolutely.
You have a leak in the roof.
Yep.
You have a roof that needs to be done. You have a French drain. Maybe you have an issue with your foundations.
Look,
in a case like that, it makes sense to refinance and take care of these, because your house will lose value if the roof collapses. You know what I mean?
So here's an example of a file killing two birds with one stone, what I literally just did this week. Okay. Customer is carrying a substantial amount of debt. Their mortgage is at a decent interest rate currently. They still have a couple of years left on the mortgage, but they need to do also repairs on the property. Okay, so the original conversation, they said, look, we need to do a French drain. There's a couple of things that we need to do on the property. We'd love to do all this stuff before winter hits. What do you suggest? Built up the file, checked the credit, saw that they were carrying some toxic debt. I said, look, this is all wonderful. Let's get rid of the toxic debt. We'll include that in there. And let's get you the money that you need for the actual repairs that you need to do. Their interest rate went up. Obviously, interest rates are different. But the fact that we're doing that renovation, that we're using that money to do French drains, we're using that money to do the roof, we're using that money to do the repairs on the house, it protects us from future damages that could possibly happen in the house, which would cost you so much more money down the line. So sometimes our short-term or our narrow-minded thinking of, I don't want to pay a little bit more in interest, will have a boomerang effect down the line, which will cost us a hell of a lot more money. A lot more money.
And you've even seen some
Can I
cases.
say that word?
That's what I was wondering.
I don't know. I have to ask the producers.
A heck of a lot of money.
Yeah, we'll say, yeah.
We'll keep it at a heck of a lot.
Double hockey stick. Yeah.
You've even seen some cases where you had to put somebody with a private lender for the short-term gain and short-term solution. And that's fine as well if it's really used properly. Like you always say, the tools are there and they have to be used properly.
It has to be strategic. Remember that. At the end of the day, it comes down to the strategy that you're putting in place. And again, I don't care if you're paying 10 or 15 or 20 or 5 or whatever interest rate you're paying. If it makes sense, you do it. If it doesn't make sense, you don't do it. And it's very, the beautiful thing about what we do in our job is that it's a very black and white thing. There's very rarely fuzzy feelings, like emotions when we're talking about the money on refinancing.
Does this make sense or does it
make
not
sense?
Yeah.
Do you save money or are you exchanging 4 quarters for $1? If you're exchanging 4 quarters for $1, don't do it. Yeah. Don't do it. Okay. But if what you're doing is saving you money on a monthly basis, you go for it. You do it.
But that has to do also with a mindset, because a lot of us have grown up with parents telling us, you got to pay off your mortgage, you got to pay off your mortgage. Your house is not an ATM. So I think that there's a bit of undoing of that. Yes, I agree your house is not an ATM if you're going to pull out money to go on vacation and bring Terry on vacation with you. But if you're pulling out money from equity out of your home for the right reasons, then it is a mindset. And I think you wanted to really talk about that mindset, how very often we have a mindset of...
Yeah. So, I mean, when you look at it, I've always used this analogy, which has really rubbed people the wrong way. So I'm not going to use it, but you have to remember that when we get ourselves into debt, okay, we're basically conditioning our mind, and I'm gonna be very, very blunt in what I'm gonna say, but we're conditioning our mind for poverty. Okay, you get a mortgage, you get something that's on deferred payments, then you get some credit card bills, and you get some line of credit bills, and you get loans and whatnot. And next thing you know, you're spending all your money on your debts, toxic and non-toxic debts altogether. At the end of the month, like we said, you're not able to go and get groceries unless you're putting it on a credit card. Okay, so you're in a toxic debt environment at that point. There's no room for savings. There's no room for building up a nest egg at that point. When you do that for any extended period of time, your body your brain and your body gets conditioned to it. Okay, so we're talking, this is physiological. Okay, and you become addicted, if you will, to the debt.
Or just conditioned to only think
of that.
Yeah.
And, for those of you that you read the book The Secret and stuff like that, there's a lot of truth. What you focus on is what's going to grow. So the more you focus on your debts and paying off the debts, well, guess what? The more debt you're going to have. Because at a certain point in time, you're going to crack and you're going to say, I'm going to use all of my money. I'm going to buckle down. I'm going to cut, my call waiting. I'm going to cut my home phone bill. I'm going to cut cable. I'm going to cut this. I'm not going to go out anymore. I'm not going to do this. And you're going to go on like this ultra strict diet of finances that's going to keep you from spending anything more than what your bare minimums. You're like on life support here.
And not enjoying life.
Yeah. You're going to be a very miserable human being. And you're going to basically be putting all your disposable income towards debt. And it's going to work. You are going to start to drop the amount of debt that you owe. It's going to drop.
I feel like there's a but coming.
But at a certain point in time, you have to remember, things happen. Your transmission will break. Your car's going to break down. Your roof is going to leak. Something is going to happen that's going to trigger you to have to dip back into your debt, your credit. And the minute that happens, well, guess what? You're going to come back, and you're going to come back tenfold, because you've been diligent in paying down your stuff, the bank has extended more credit to you because now you're responsible. So because the bank has extended more credit, now you have more debt. So unfortunately, and I'm going to use the example, it's like, let's say you were overweight and you're going on a diet and you hit a plateau, and then all of a sudden you eat that big pizza that you shouldn't have eaten, and all of a sudden you gain some weight, and you're like, well, what's the point? And you end up coming back heavier than before. Well, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the same thing with debt. So that's why you need to nip it in the butt right away, and then put a plan in place for prosperity. So instead of thinking about we need to change that mindset and switch it from being a poverty mindset to a prosperity mindset. And then by doing that, you can put money in your RSPs, which is going to trigger money back at the end of the year. When you file your taxes, you could put money in your TFSAs, and you grow. So that way, when something happens, you have that savings to rely on. Make sense?
Yeah. Thank you,
Merav, we're out
Terry.
of real estate if people want to get a hold of us.
You can reach us at the office at 514-680-4674 or online at nordest.ca.
Guys, till next week, have a blessed week. Love you all.
Northeast is the call to make. Whether you're buying your first home or you're a seasoned investor, Terry Kilakos and his team of mortgage and real estate brokers can help. It's simple and it's free. Make your dreams come true. Call Northeast.